Hi, I'm Animus Kellen, and I've been getting into Flesh and Blood for about 2 months. For about 2 months now, and I've kind of noticed that you really have to commit to Flesh and Blood, and there's really a lot to digest within 2 months I've been playing this game. From getting good at it, obtaining cards, pricing, events, living legend points. There's really a lot to this game that you really have to learn and to really understand, if that makes sense. And if you get into Flesh and Blood, I find it really difficult to really play this casually, if that makes sense. Maybe because I'm a very competitive person and I really struggle with enjoying things non-competitively, if that makes sense. I really do struggle with that. And when I view Flesh and Blood, I just don't know how you can. And I'm going to go over the reasons why, how I don't think people can really enjoy Flesh and Blood without committing to the game. So from my perspective, the game really requires you to pay attention and give all your focus to what you're playing, what you're doing, and understanding what's going on. And keep in mind, my perspective only really comes from fighting games, right? Mostly Super Smash Brothers. And honestly, I think despite the fact that I haven't really played that much recently, for Smash specifically, I could probably re-enter locals and do relatively decently without really committing as much as I do to Flesh and Blood right now, and do pretty decently. Because you can really get away with playing a character that hits the A or B button really well, and I just don't see that for Flesh and Blood, right? I feel like when you play Flesh and Blood, if you really don't understand what's going on, you can get really behind really quickly, and if you don't know how to block or how to pitch properly, or learning your win conditions, and I mean, obviously, this is for other games too, right? Like that's obviously a thing that you have to learn the fundamentals of every game. But I really do feel like it's really a lot more drastic for Flesh and Blood, which is good. I really enjoy that level of Flesh and Blood. And not only do you really have to commit to learning all these things, but you really have to commit a lot of time to it as well. And I mean a lot of time. From my time playing this game for the last 2 months, I have probably put, unironically, like, I know this is really silly, but I want to say like 150 hours, because I play this game after I get out of work, and anytime I have downtime for like an hour, I'll try to play some Flesh and Blood on Talishar, and I'll at least play like 3 to 4 games a day, and I'm not kidding. And my roommate actually says it's very obsessive, and maybe she's right, but I really enjoy this game, so I don't really care, you know. Uh, but I've been putting a lot of hours. Like if we really put 4 hours into 60 days, we're looking at uh, even for 30 days, that's 120 hours, I think, right? Yeah, so we're really reaching about 150 hours within 2 months alone, which is a lot. Especially when you tell someone that. Like I'm not gonna go on a date with somebody and be like, yeah, I played this game for 150 hours this month. Like it's not really attractive. So not only do you have to really commit time into learning it and getting good at it too, but this is a very in-person type of event, right? So this game really encourages you to go to your armories, and participate in things like Classic Constructed or Blitz. I rarely ever see anyone play Living Legend. I'm not even sure if that's a real format. I think I see more commoner formats than I do Living Legend. But you are encouraged to enter, right? You're rewarded with uh, a gem pack. You get to make meaningful relationships, and we'll touch on that in a bit too. And you just really, and the community is really welcoming, right? So you really are encouraged to do this. There's no real online prize system like Yu-Gi-Oh or maybe Pokemon, VGC for that matter. I meant to say that, I don't know anything about TCG Pokemon, but this really encourages you to attend in-person events for all the events, locals, regionals, majors. And honestly, like, even though you're encouraged to go to local events, not every city has enough people. I in the couple armories I've been to, I got to talk to some people because I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and I talked to some people from I think San Marcos or no, it was College Station, which is a relatively small city, and they said they only recently have been able to host locals because they had 3 people. That's 3 people in a whole city. It's really crazy. And we're fortunate enough to have about 10 people to our Monday locals or armor events at Shenanigans, which is really cool. That's a lot of people. And I view that as a lot of people, despite Smash getting like 30 people to 40 people a week. Um, it like Flesh and Blood is just not iconic in the way that like Mario beating up Sora from Super Smash Bros. Is, right? So not only do you really have to commit a lot of time into going to these events to really enjoy the game, um, for your city to grow or your scene to grow, you really need to be very welcoming, which the Flesh and Blood community is, and you also need to constantly like be engaging with new players so that they stay. Right, I've heard about some people who keep Blitz in some CC decks so that they can teach new players who are interested and that they can participate in the armory with a deck that is functional and is good enough, right? Despite the pricing, which we're going to talk about in a bit here. That's also a commitment. And it's just really hard to do all that, right? Like, that's a lot of work. Like, I don't think you understand how it is talking to a lot of people. Um, it's just, it's doable. But a lot of other communities don't do that. Like, if you look at Yu-Gi-Oh, like, I'm seeing my city with Yu-Gi-Oh, they're like, they're like really mean to each other on Facebook, man. Like, that's, I don't know. I saw an argument in the San Antonio Flesh and Blood Discord, and it got resolved like that. Like it resolved itself instantly, within like 3 seconds. But like, I don't know, man. Like, and even for Smash, like they people be really petty sometimes, and it's just really really hard to have a community that is really chill and really understanding and very woke. I think I'm really glad this community is very woke. So, we have a community and understanding the game that you really have to commit to. And you could try to argue that you don't need to commit to either or, right? You could just swing by your local armory, say hi, maybe play a for fun deck. Um, and that's something like I can't really relate to, right? Because I want to play the best of my ability with the best cards that I can play with, right? I play Azuri, which I'm switching off of soon, but uh, you know, I just don't feel comfortable playing Azuri without really good assassin cards or really good assassin equipment, right? So I can't enjoy myself if I'm not playing uh, to the best that my character can play, if that makes sense. So, and I know some people are really chill with that, and that's totally fine. But you really also have to consider how you have to obtain these cards and the prices of these cards. I'm fortunate enough to have a local game store that sells Flesh and Blood singles. I've recently found out that not every city has that. Like, not every big city has that either. And so you kind of have to rely on your community, which again is another commitment you have to make, right? You don't want to be flaming people in chat because of you lost or something, um, or because they play slow or whatever drama there's going on right now. And expect for people to want to talk to you and engage with you and trade with you. You know what I mean? So without a local game store that sells singles, you really have to rely on booster packs. You have to rely on TCG Player, which not everybody's comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with TCG Player. And you have to be comfortable with trading with other people in person and engaging with them. Um, and not every game has that, Not every game has to deal with that. I can probably go to any store. Like, I think even Heroes and Fantasies does that. I think they have multiple stores. But most stores will have Yu-Gi-Oh singles that you can get into. Or they'll have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, and you're bound to find someone who's selling the cards that you need, right? So you really do have to commit into obtaining the cards that you want or may possibly need. And the prices of some of these cards is really insane. In the last 60 to 90 days that I've been playing this game or getting into it, um, I have spent about $2,000 to $3,000. My door just opened. I spent about $2,000 to $3,000, and only counting cards that are worth $10 or more. Um, I currently have a binder with a minimum of with a minimum value of $2,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, dude. $2,000 is like, if you're living with other people, that's a few months of rent, man. Let alone 3,000, you know. And the price of this game gets really crazy sometimes when you have really good cards like Shelter from the Storm being sold as a set, right? So that means three cards for 250 to 275 just for all three. Or like if you want class specific cards like Codex of Frailty, you're looking at like 115 a piece, maybe 105. Or a set of CNCs. You know what I mean? Like it just this game gets really, really expensive really fast. I saw a video recently of like the most expensive TCG games, and Flesh and Blood was like number one, three, four, and five, and it was so insane. I mean, I can afford that, right? Because I'm in a very fortunate spot to where I can be working as much as I do now and have enough money to spend on Flesh and Blood over time and to have other cards available to trade for Flesh and Blood over time and to have people around me to where I can go to my local game store, which is Shenanigans Gaming, by the way. You guys should check it out if you're around San Antonio. Um, and I can get singles from there. Or I can talk to my local community and borrow cards or buy them off them or trade because we have a reasonable amount of people comparatively to other cities. And that's really cool. I'm really fortunate to be in that situation. But not everybody is. So, again, not only do you need to commit to obtaining these cards, you also need to commit to purchasing these cards. And I know that might sound a little weird, right? But there's a difference between looking on how to get a reasonably priced Shelter from the Storm and then purchasing a Shelter from the Storm from TCG Player. Does that make sense? Maybe I might have to go a bit more into that. But it's just really expensive, right? Like if we look at decks that are winning, like let's say you want to compete at a higher level, right? Because right now I'm playing Azuri, and I win a reasonable amount on Talishar, which I don't really online games to me. I don't really care who I'm beating or how I'm winning. It's just not like a statistic I really care about. But I've come to realize that New an assassin is significantly better than Missouri. However, I don't really like New. I don't like playing as New. I did not enjoy it when I was trying her. Arachne Marionette, same thing. And now I could try to stick with Azuri, and it is possible, right? I think someone got third at the Battle Hardened at Charlotte. But, I disagree with the deck list personally, but I'm not good enough to really have a take on that either. Or I don't really have accomplishments to say that either, if that makes sense. So now, as somebody who really wants to compete competitively, I have a couple options. Suck it up and get good with Zuri, which I have been trying to do for the past 2 months. And I'm really, really trying my best here. Or I could just play something like Aurora, right? However, because I've already spent so much money on Azuri, like I have spent, like I could probably pull out the binder right now, but like I need a tunic, right? I need Crown of Providence, Flick Knives, set of Codex of Frailty, set of CNC, some E strikes. What else off the top of my head? I got rid of Just a Nick. I still have it, but I'm not playing with it. Same with Bonds of Agony, Persuasive Prognosis, Leave No Witnesses. I mean, there's just so much that I really have to invest to Um, and I could try to take that over to Aurora, right? I can trade those cards because I'm in a position to where I can do that, right? I can talk to other people either in my city or in different cities and try to make those trades, or just buy them outright because I can, right? Um, but again, that's another big commitment, and let me really get to my point here. I find it very difficult um, to enjoy this game without committing to it. And that might not make a lot of sense. But one of the things I eventually learned from playing Smash competitively for about 6 years, 4 years, 5 years, is that not everybody that wants to compete and want to be good don't commit to it the same way I do, right? There are people who really want to be really good at the game, but aren't willing to put in the work. Or alternatively, they're willing to put in the work, but they're not willing to suffer. They're not willing to lose and have a really bad day and just be like, wow, I got washed out. Maybe I should just give up, right? They're just not willing to go through the pains of that. And that's okay. You shouldn't have to do that, right? If you just want to play the game and have fun and have the dream that one day you can be good without putting the effort for it, that's okay, you know? But I find it difficult to do that with Flesh and Blood, or just in general for myself, right? I just can't understand how somebody might be able to do that with Flesh and Blood because it's a really fun game and it's really good. The events are really cool. The cards are really cool. The characters are they can be really cool. I was thinking of Enigma, uh, but I just can't understand how someone can enjoy the game without fully committing to it. Um, and if you have any advice on that, like if you want to share your perspective on that, that'd be great. But Flesh and Blood really requires you to fully commit your time, your efforts, your money. Really requires you to engage with your community. It just takes so much from you, and that's okay, you know, and that's okay. But I think it's really important that people know that before they get into it, because I see people talk about Flesh and Blood in a way that's like, this is the best game. It's true, and you should like you're frustrated with Yu-Gi-Oh, you're frustrated with current modern Magic. Maybe you should just switch to Flesh and Blood. But they don't really talk about the commitments you really have to make other than having to learn the game, because it's such a different environment from my experience with the Yu-Gi-Oh community and from my experience with the Magic community. It's just so different, right? And I haven't even talked about other things. Like I want to talk about cards, obtaining cards with like Sync Below and Fate Foreseen. Like I don't think you have any idea how long it took me to find Fate Foreseen or Sync Below, right? Like I just got really fortunate that I forgot I bought these cards super early on, and I just had a set of each, right? I was super fortunate. But like my local game store didn't have it. Other people I talked to didn't have a set of it. And I just didn't want to buy it off TCG Player. But I really wanted to get that off my chest because I wrote it down here. And like it's just things like that, man, right? Where you have generic stuff like that, where like everybody wants Sync Below and Fate Foreseen red version to really compete. And with the little time I have left here, I do want to talk about some Armory decks, right? Like I showed off Armory deck cover right here. Uh, and I think I also bought Jarl. I think those are really good. This is a really good way to get people into the game. I've checked some of the deck list, and I mean, it's not like I don't know, man. Like, it's good. It's good, and I think that's probably all I'll say. Outside of when I got the Jarl deck, it did not like when it came really like neatly packaged, but when I opened it, it was like a big box, and then it became a really, really, really like a small deck, right? And it's just my expectations were kind of disappointed from that, right? I was really disappointed of how little that I got from that in the box opening experience mostly. And then also, the deck didn't even have like Sync Below or Fate Foreseen. Like it had D reacts, but it didn't have Sync Below or Fate Foreseen, which I think are really important. Like, I think you should at least package those in so you can teach people about sideboarding. I think that's the one thing, because I think they all come with 60 cards, classic constructed, rather than like 70 or 80, so that they can teach you about sideboarding. But let me open this up real quick. Maybe they changed it for Aurora, right? We have Arc Lightnings. Oh, what is this? A Blitz? No, yeah, this is CC. So you have two Arc Lightnings instead of three Arc Lightnings, which I might be wrong. They might have that as a foil version, very similar to how they had it for Jarl. I remember they separated that for a reason. Yeah, they did. Nope, not for Arc Lightning, right? Anyways, what I'm looking for here is D-Reacts. Specifically Sink Below and Fate Foreseen. Despite the fact that I don't see three Arc Lightnings here, the deck list is actually pretty good. Um, but again, things like that, right? Like you got an Armory deck, and now you have to commit into obtaining side decking cards. So I'm gonna end the video here because I'm gonna be going on a tangent with a bunch of different things. But I really hope you enjoyed watching this. And if you have any feedback on things like my perspective of the game and community and how people to enjoy this game you have to commit, because that's just really how I view it. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there's another way to enjoy this without fully committing. And I would like to hear other people's perspectives on that. So thank you so much for watching.